On the vast ice ocean, a huge icebreaker slowly approached. It has been drifting on the sea for several days. If it were not for this huge icebreaker, it would never be able to traverse the deep sea in such a cold ice apocalypse. But at this time, there are few crew members on this huge icebreaker, because the huge hull can withstand the erosion of the ice ocean, but it cannot stop the north wind on the sea that is sharper than a knife. The entire Shirase has always been unmanned. Today, in 2050, artificial intelligence has replaced most of the work in the mechanical field. It is in this dangerous environment that bursts of low music can be vaguely heard from the ship, inside the ship cabin. There was a small table. A woman wearing a shrine maiden's costume sat at the table. In front of her was an ancient scroll. In her hand, she held a brush with a goblin statue on the head and dipped it into the ink in the box next to her. But the ink was not black, but red as blood. Her name was Mayumi Bambuchi. The newsboy cap half knelt in front of her, looked up and smiled and asked, "How is my fortune today?" The shrine maiden bowed to the newsboy cap very respectfully and said, "Good luck." The newsboy cap nodded with satisfaction and breathed a sigh of relief. "That's great. If we keep going this way, we will be able to land in the city called Linhai soon." He turned his head and looked at the sofa not far away. There sat a man who was nearly 2 meters tall and as strong as a brown bear. But the man was wearing a black suit and flipping through a sailing magazine with his thick palms. The picture was somewhat inconsistent. "Da Gonghui, how far do we have to go?" The man named Da Gonghui Yanjin didn't even raise his head. 3 more days. The man in the newsboy cap smiled and raised his head, looking at the ceiling and sighed. 3 more days, right? After 3 days, we will land in the place called Shenzhou. Then write a legendary story that belongs to us. The investigation team's mission in Tianhai City has ended. Bailey Chang King led the team back to Jinling, back to the super military fortress located on the east side of Jinling, which was built at a huge cost, Blizzard City. The sky was covered with heavy snow, and this gray super building was crawling on the ground like a beast. The tall city wall is more than 50 meters high. Every 3 meters, there is a soldier armed with live ammunition and wearing black combat uniforms guarding it. There is a tower every 10 meters which is equipped with a high-speed machine gun. The firing rate of 6,000 rounds per minute can instantly tear apart all carbon-based organisms. This super fortress, covering thousands of square kilometers, has been built decades ago. According to Shengjing's military plan, Blizzard City and other 5 militarized fortresses are known as the last 6 lines of defense of China. They have the most powerful army and weapons and equipment in China. No matter what happens, as long as they are still there, China will stand firm. Bailey Chang King and his car came under the tall city wall, and after inspection, they drove into the heavy metal gate. Inside Blizzard City, the silence is even a little depressing. There will be no famine or unrest here due to food shortages, but comprehensive militarized management is implemented here. Therefore, it is almost impossible to see the activities of ordinary people in the streets and alleys. There are only soldiers and special personnel working for Blizzard City. After Bailey Chang King and his team returned, staff immediately came to take them for examination. These team members who fought outside need to ensure that their physical condition is normal after returning, and they will not bring in unknown germs from the outside world. After a complicated examination, a young officer appeared in front of Bailey Chang King. He was wearing a neat green military uniform, a neatly slicked back hair, and a pair of expensive gold-rimmed glasses. After seeing Bailey Chang King, he said, "Lieutenant Colonel Bailey, please follow me." Bailey Chang King nodded and followed the young soldier. The identity of this soldier is not ordinary. He is Lan Xincheng, the secretary of Zhu Zhang, the supreme commander of the Jiangnan region. Born as a civilian, his family background is extraordinary, and he is very trusted by Zhu Zhang. As usual, after they complete their assigned tasks and come back, they need to report the situation to Zhu Zhang in person. What's more, this time, the problem in Tianhai City is more serious. Although he had discussed it with the team members before coming, and after all, the death of a captain-level figure is enough to alarm the entire Blizzard City's top management. Bailey Chang King followed Lan Xincheng to the command center. Zhang's office. "Commander-in-Chief Bailey Changqing is here," Lan Xincheng reported to Zhang through the communication device outside the office. After receiving Zhang's affirmative answer, Lan Xincheng made way, and the dark silver metal door in front of him slowly opened. Bailey Changqing was a little nervous and walked in step by step with a stern face. After all, this time he came here to lie to Zhang. Everyone agreed with his approach, but Zhang's majesty is too deeply rooted in the hearts of everyone in Blizzard City. So much so that this veteran who has been fighting for a long time would also be afraid of him. Bailey Changqing walked into Zhang's office. Zhang was about 50 years old with gray hair and a thin body, but his face always had a steely look, and his eyes were as sharp as a hawk. After Bailey Changqing entered the door, he subconsciously glanced at the guard standing behind Zhang. He was slightly younger than Zhang, in his 40s, with an ordinary appearance, wearing a pair of old-fashioned round glass lenses and a small braid behind his head. But Bailey Changqing knew that this gentleman's strength was probably ranked among the top 3 in the entire Blizzard City. When Bian Junwu was still alive, he once said to Bailey Changqing that within 100 steps, it would be easier for this man to kill him than to kill a chicken. "Commander-in-Chief!" Bailey Changqing came to the office and stood in front of the mahogany table and saluted solemnly. Zhang nodded at him with his hands behind his back. "You have done a great job on this mission. I originally thought that you would temporarily withdraw, and then the headquarters would launch a devastating attack on Tianhai City." "That's good. We saved the city of Tianhai City." Zhang's tone showed that he didn't care much about Tianhai City. He already knew that almost all the people in Tianhai City died in the zombie tide, and only 1 out of 100 people survived, so this city can be completely abandoned. Bailey Changqing said, "This operation is thanks to Team Bian. If he hadn't sacrificed himself to contain the cult leader of the snow worship sect, I'm afraid we would have all died there." Before returning, they reported to the headquarters. As for the statements in the report, they were almost the same as what Zhang Yi said, just a little polished. But the main credit still went to their investigation team, especially Bian Junwu's credit was mentioned by them. When mentioning Bian Junwu, Zhang couldn't help but show a trace of sadness on his face. Bian Junwu used to be a good hand in the army. After the end of the world, he also made very important contributions to the Jiangnan region. His death is an irreparable loss for the Jiangnan region. Although he knew that there would be such a day sooner or later, Zhang couldn't help but feel sorry for it at this time. He looked at Bailey Changqing and waved to him. "Sit down and talk." After the two sat down, Zhang continued to ask, "Did you meet any good seedlings when you went to Tianhai City this time that you can bring to the headquarters for training?" Bailey Changqing had already reported to Zhang by email about the various situations of the Tianhai City mission. So at this time, Zhang didn't talk about the mission anymore, but talked about talents. After all, although the headquarters of the Jiangnan region is full of talents, people often sacrifice, resulting in insufficient income. Therefore, it is particularly important to absorb fresh blood from surrounding cities. Bailey Changqing sat upright on the chair, and the first thing that came to his mind was the shadow of Zhang Yi. Today's Zhang Yi's strength is definitely not inferior to that of Bian Junwu, and putting aside his strength in terms of strategy and temperament, he is definitely worthy of attention. But according to the agreement between him and Zhang Yi, he could not reveal Zhang Yi's strength. Bailey Changqing was thinking and said to Zhang, "Tianhai City does have several powerful people. After our investigation, there are 7 people I think have the strength to join the investigation team. Xing Tian from Qingpu Base, Xiao Honglian and Zhuge Qingting from Yangsheng Base, Chen Jingguan from Chaoyu Base, and Zhang Yi, Liang Yue, and Yang Mi from Zhang Yi's team. These people are basically powerful combat characters. However, Yang Mi's ability is very strong in auxiliary role, which is very suitable for being placed in the team." Zhang nodded slowly after listening. "You have already said all this in the report." He crossed his hands on the table and suddenly said, "I am very interested in this young man named Zhang Yi. Can you tell me more about him?" Bailey Changqing was a little nervous and said in his heart, "Sure enough, he is here." If you like my content and want to keep up with future updates, hit that subscribe button. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video.